Hello my dear students. Let's start with the part 2 of metal casting process, which is component used in the sand casting. So in this figure we can see the different components are there. We just need to remember what are the position of these components. This is the complete box is known as the flask, and there is a upper flask is there, which is known as cope, and bottom is known as bag. There is a mold cavity which is made by the pattern. There is a core sand which is used to make a hole inside the product, so this core is to be used. This is the open riser which is used for the ensuring the complete metal liquid metal is filled in this mold cavity. This is the vent which is used to stresses out the all the gaseous particle and air particle from this vent. This is a pouring basin from where the liquid metal is poured into this is flask, and this all the things are yellow colored is sand. This is the parting line means the center line of the cope and drag box. Okay, and we can see the product made from this casting, mold casting, sand casting. We can see there is a hole on the product from this core, and this is the as we can see, this is the mold cavity. Also the pouring basin part is also a mold cavity, and the riser part is also a mold cavity. So the liquid metal will enter in this part also and this part also. So this will become the integrated part of the product, the top riser, and this is the pouring cavity. So we should cut this part from this product, so that we will have only the product portion of this casting. Okay, this product is also known as the casting. So we just go for the components details in one by one. The important casting terms are the flask, a metal or wood frame without fixed top or bottom, in which the mold is formed. Depending upon the position of the flask in the molding structure, it is referred to by various names such as drag, which is at the down position and lower molding flask, and cope, which is at upper molding flask, and sometimes we are going to use the chick also. So and this chick is intermediate molding flask used in the three-piece molding. This is the two-piece molding. So in case of the three-piece molding, we should use the chick box also. This is also the same type of the boxes, but it is at the center. That's why it will have a different name, which is known as chick. And now the pattern is a replica of the final object to be made. The mold cavity is made with the help of pattern. The parting line, this is the dividing line between the two molding flask, which is drag and cope, makes up the mold. The molding sand, the sand which binds together without losing its permeability to air or gases. It is mixture of the silica, sand, clay, and moisture in the appropriate proportion. What is permeability? Permeability is the characteristic of the molding sand, which is by virtue of which the material can permit the air and gases to be traces out from the sand. So if the permeability is higher, if the permeability is higher, means air will be come inside to the mold, and it can go outside from the mold or gases. So the permeability must be lesser. The facing sand, the facing sand is the small amount of the carbonaceous material sprinkled on the inner surface of the mold cavity to give us better surface finish to the casting means the product. In the next, we can see the core, a separate part of the mold made of a sand and generally baked, which is used to create openings and the various shaped cavities in the casting. Means in the product, if there is a cavity is required inside the product, So in that case we use a core which will be placed into the mold cavity. Pouring basin, a small funnel-shaped cavity at the top of the mold into which the molten metal is poured. So we can see this is the pouring basin. Next is a sprue. Sprue, we can see here the position of the sprue is here after the pouring basin. Sprue, the passage through which the molten metal from the pouring basin reaches to the mold cavity. In many cases, it controls the flow of the metal into the mold. So the control of the flow means the velocity of the liquid metal is controlled by the sprue design. We can see this sprue design is in the taper shape, means here the diameter will be more and here the diameter will be less. So the design of the sprue is very important. Next is a runner, the channel through which the molten metal is carried from the sprue to the gate. So we can see here the runner is there. So from the sprue to the mold cavity, before mold cavity is we can use gate also. So a channel through which the molten metal enters the mold cavity. So this mold cavity can be far away from this sprue, so we use the gate also. If the mold cavity is like this, if we can see the mm, the top view of this molding. So if the mold cavity at a some certain distance, means this is the mold cavity and the liquid metal is coming from this, so the gate is required. This gate is required. So this is runner and this is gate, and from top side from sprue is there, and before sprue there will be pouring basin. The pouring basin, then sprue, then runner, then gate, and then molding cavity. The liquid metal will go into the mold cavity. The chaplets, the what is chaplets? Chaplets are used to support this core. So this core is to be placed at the molding cavity. So this core is to be is required to be support. If we are going to insert the liquid metal from the sprue to the runner to the mold cavity, the core will be experienced a buoyancy force. So buoyancy force will apply on this core sand, and this core sand will apply a force onto the this molding sand. So this molding sand can be destroyed. So to prevent this destruction of this mold from the buoyancy force applied on the this core, uh, this core is to be supported from using chaplets. The chaplets are used to support the cores inside the mold cavity to take care of its own weight and overcome the metallistic forces. Metallistic forces mean the liquid metal is is also a type of metal, so it will apply impact forces. This is known as metallistic forces. Next is riser. Riser we have already explained. A column of the molten metal placed in the mold to feed the casting as it shrinks and solidifies, also known as the feed head also. Means when we put liquid metal from the sprue, means liquid metal is comes out into this, and this will fill into this cavity, and after pouring some more metals, this will fill this riser also. Okay, but in this liquid state it will fill this up to this, only this portion. But after solidification of this liquid metal, this will shrink out, means this metal will be shrink out, and there may be possibility of cavity at the in the product because of solidification. So this riser is to be required to be designed as such, so that there is no lack of liquid metal which creates the cavity or the lack of metal to make a perfect product. Okay, the next is vent. A vent is required to to facilitate the escape of air or gases. So this is all over the components used in the in making a molding sand, or used to make a product from the metal casting process. We will go for the next lecture for the part 3 in the next video lecture, which is including steps in making sand casting. So thank you for listening my lecture. Just stay tuned.